Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, I personally am a devout Catholic. Like, I pray the rosary and I go to Mass. I personally think it's unfair that there are other brothers and sisters who, for far too long, have not been included in the church for a variety of reasons. I told you in my speech that there may be like these soft stance attempts to include these particular individuals, but in other large particular attempts, these particular things ultimately just fall short. So I agree. To all the Catholics out here, I think it's largely unacceptable that we have other people who feel that they are less. But at the same breath, we champion certain virtues and values like being one, being holy, being Catholic, and being apostolic. We think that the very fact that the whip speaker was not able to respond to my POI was precisely the reason we take this debate. The very fact that what does their side do for the other side? Those people who historically have been disenfranchised. There are three reasons why we take this debate. The first is on level of engagement and unresponded material. We told you certain practical methods in which we can change the Bible. You have ecumenical councils, which are, I told you in my speech, where a conclave of bishops and popes come together and change all sorts of stuff. Even if you don't buy that, there are more modern day interpretations of what the church does. Case in point recently, Pope Francis, who's traditionally a bit more liberal, he legit got 5 dubia or doubts against the conservative group of cardinals. They legit gave 5 POIs against him, and the dude freaking responded with like a 6-page LO speech, responding to all of those things. That in itself kind of proves discourse is good, even though it creates divide, because divide already exists within the church, and further divide exists within those minorities. Secondly, and this is most important, in terms of burden fulfillment and, dare I say, spirit of the motion, which is value judgment with an embedded actor motion, a lot of the responses not only didn't evolve, but were to a large extent contingent on feasibility. We told you time and time again, it's not a debate about how we would or a policy, but a debate about why we should value judgment with the flavor of the Catholic Church as your actor. The first POI I gave in this round concretized how we're going to do it, but their side insisted we shouldn't and we can't. We think just because of that, we should. Now, lastly is in terms of, I guess, weighing this debate, right? Weighing the schism you get from existing conservative members who don't like these new liberal stuff versus empowering these new liberal members who come into the church. And I guess this responds to the only standing or best case they have of, if I was a Catholic, I'd be upset about these particular changes. DPM already told you about how you can opt out of the church if it offends you that much, and GovWhip already told you about how if you're truly within the spirit of the Catholic Church, people like you and me who adhere to these values, then you would accept them either way. Even if you have like a different opinion, you'd be empathetic enough to be able to understand their suffering and quench your anger or dissent in your heart. Like seriously, you can either bounce or accept it. But we think that the harms of offending people aren't outweighed by the fact that majority of the minority, as ironic enough, are the ones who are oppressed. These people who far too long have been unable to get an abortion, these people for far too long who are women nuns who are being treated less compared to male clergy, and all these particular people of the LGBT community who really want to be economically included because love wins and it's important. Again, we can proclaim these values but at the same time say they're not hard. For all these reasons, thank you for a cool round.